Today, we're going to catch up on some of the new features in the new Windows 11 Movement 3 update. Like, why is it called the Movement 3 update? Anyway, I don't know. Stay tuned. All right, today we're looking at a new minor update for Windows 11 that Microsoft is calling Movement 3. This is not a major update like 22H2 was, but just a minor update that adds some small features and a lot of bug fixes. I have to say though, that through all of my research that I did, I have no idea why they call it Movement 3. I mean, I realize that it's because the last two minor updates were Movement 1 and Movement 2, but what's with the term movement? I mean, seriously, every time I see one of these movement updates, I can't help but think of bowel movement. But you know, I'm sure there's an explanation for why they call it that. And if you know what it is, then make sure to mention it in the comments below. I'm surprised that all of the articles that I read in preparation for this video didn't think that that would be a good side note to include. Maybe it's because it's something super obvious that I'm just not aware of. Or maybe it really does mean bowel movement. But if that's the case, like I said, mention it in the comments below because I'd really like to know what the term movement relates to Windows updates. Either way, there's several new tweaks that Microsoft has made to Windows 11 that are included in Movement 3. And I'm not going to go over every single one, but I am going to look at some of the ones that stood out to me. But first, we got to pay some bills. So check out today's sponsor. Is your copy of Windows 10 unactivated? Well, it doesn't have to be, because with today's sponsor, VIP SCD Key, you can get a valid Windows 10 license for under $20. Stop dealing with that stupid watermark on the desktop, the valid license for Windows 10. Also, with an activated copy of Windows 10, you can upgrade to Windows 11 for free. Just go to the link in the description below and pick up a valid Windows 10 license key. During checkout, use the code CYBERCPU for a 25% discount. Once you have your key, go to your activation settings in Windows 10 and click on the link that says Change Product Key. Enter the product key you just purchased and hit Activate. Now you don't have to deal with that stupid watermark that come with running an unactivated copy of Windows 10. Now, on with the video. So, let's jump on the computer and I'll show you some of the new features in Windows 11. Okay, so here we're on a fresh install of Windows 11 that has been updated to the latest update, which would include Movement 3. And the first one I'm going to look at is the seconds on the clock. If you notice down here, your clock doesn't typically have the seconds, but you can add that with a registry hack. However, Microsoft has included that in the settings, so you don't have to modify the registry anymore to get to it. All you do is open Settings, go to Personalization, then go to Taskbar, right here, and then go to Taskbar Behaviors, and then scroll down, and right here you see where it says Show Seconds in the System Tray Clock. If you check that, it'll go ahead and show your seconds. However, it does say it uses more power. How much power that is? I don't know, but if you're concerned about power, then you might want to flip it off. But it is nice to have a setting that allows you to turn it on and off. And one of the reasons I wanted to include this in this video isn't because I like seconds in the tray clock. Honestly, I don't. But I like the fact that Microsoft is taking note of some of the mods that people are doing in the registry, and they're giving us a way to change those within the settings. I think it's a good sign that a lot of the settings that we wish were in here would be in here in the future. Like, for instance, the ability to turn off the stupid context menu. I really want that in settings instead of the registry, but I digress. So the next setting that I want to show you is we're going to have to go to accessibility for this. So we're going to go ahead and click over to accessibility, and then from accessibility we want to scroll down to keyboard. And then from keyboard, I want you to take note of this setting right here. Use the print screen key to open the snipping tool. Now, this has always been in the settings before. However, by default, it was turned off. Normally, if you have this turned off, if you hit print screen, it just takes a screenshot, and then you have to paste that screenshot into another art program like Paint. However, by having this turned on by default now, when you hit the print screen, it'll give you the snipping tool. And from here, if you want, you can take just small screenshots of just small parts of the screen. And then from there, the way you would use those is you would open up whatever program you wanted to use. Like in this case, we'll go ahead and use Paint. So if we open Paint up, we can hit paste, and it'll paste just that small snip that we took from the snipping tool. Now, I think this is actually a really good feature right here, and it does come in really handy. And it is one in the past that I've recommended to turn on. And it's kind of nice that Microsoft has decided just to have it be the default setting from this point forward. So the next tweak that I'm going to show you guys, we're going to go ahead and get out of settings here. And from that, we're going to have to go into the standard image viewing app. So for that one, we're going to go ahead and open up a picture. So from there, we're going to go into our pictures. And you know what? Let's open up this picture right here. All right, so say you have a picture like this. You guys were taking a group photo and you had somebody photobomb you. Well, here's a new feature that you have in the photo viewer that can help you out with that. If you come up to the top right here, you have the edit image button. And if you click on that, you can scroll over to right here where it says retouch. And then from retouch, you can actually retouch the photo. So if you have any blemishes or things of that nature in the photo, you can retouch them. So let me show you how to do that. So we're gonna go ahead and take this photo bomber out. And essentially by clicking here, all you're doing is you're essentially erasing him from the picture. Now, as you can see from the background, this doesn't do a perfect job. However, you can make it bigger if you want, and you can kind of go through this a little bit better. And it might take a little bit of work, and it's not gonna work perfect because as you can see, it just takes from what is around the picture and kind of covers it up. But as you can see, it does kind of does it, but you know, for the most part, I don't think it's meant to take out entire people from your pictures. So what you could do is, let's just say you want to clean up some of the ground right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the size to really small. We're going to come down here and we're going to kind of take out some of these spots from the ground right here. And as you can see, it does do a pretty good job of just touching the picture up from that regard. Either way, it gives you a little bit of image editing ability from within the image viewer. So for the next tweak, Windows 11 has also changed the network status icon to show if you're using a VPN. Now, I'm not using a VPN, so I can't show you what that looks like, but I can show you a screenshot that I stole from the internet as an example. I'll post that right here. I think this is a great addition to the network icon in Windows because it makes it really easy to verify if you're connected to a VPN. Now, another feature that I can't show you, but I can show you a screenshot of, is Windows 11 now supports copying two-factor authentication codes from your notifications instead of having to look at your phone to copy the code from your phone. Now, the reason why I can't show you this feature in action is because it requires your phone to be connected to PhoneLink in Windows. The reason why I can't connect my phone to PhoneLink is because PhoneLink requires a Microsoft account to use. Now, this one I found to be a little bit creepy. Why does Microsoft want your phone associated with a Microsoft account? The only option that I could think of in this case would be a massive privacy violation. Is this so Microsoft can do data collection on your phone? If that isn't the case, then I highly recommend Microsoft not including this requirement to use PhoneLink. But with that said, I highly recommend not using PhoneLink either way. A great alternative to PhoneLink is a program called KDE Connect. Now, this program only works with Android, and it was originally written for the KDE desktop in Linux, but it's now fully compatible with Windows and works really well. Now, let's jump back on the computer and I'll show you some more features new to Windows 11. Okay, so for this one, we're gonna go ahead and close down some of the stuff that we have here. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, okay, settings can be lost, and we're gonna go ahead and open up settings real quick. And now what we're gonna be talking about now is the touch keyboard settings. Now, I don't have a touchscreen, so it really doesn't make much sense to worry about the touchscreen settings. However, there are some different ways that you can access your touch keyboard. Let me show you how to do that. What you can do is, first off, if you go into your settings right here and you go into time and language, and then from time and language, you go into typing, and then from typing, you have right here your touch keyboard up top. And what you can do is the show the touch keyboard. This is the one I was mainly referring to. Now, if you have a device that has a touch screen, a lot of times it won't actually show the touch keyboard if you have a physical keyboard attached to the computer. But what you can do is you can set this to always show it, and then what it'll do is it'll show it regardless of whether you have a hardware keyboard on your computer or not. Now, I think this is actually a really good feature because I know people that use the software keyboard for things other than just typing. Sometimes people will use them as a way to kind of avoid having to worry about keystroke loggers and things of that nature. So if you're entering passwords, if you're really paranoid about people, recording your keystrokes, you can use the touch keyboard instead of a hardware keyboard. But that doesn't work in all events. However, on my system, unfortunately, by turning this on, doesn't show the touch keyboard. So if I wanted to turn the touch keyboard on, I'd have to go into personalization, scroll down to taskbar, go to touch keyboard, And then I'd have to go and say always here in order to show it. And then I can click here in order to show the touch keyboard. So unfortunately, this doesn't affect people that don't have a touch screen, but it is a cool little feature if you do have a touch screen to have the touch keyboard available to you at any time. Okay, so the next one I want to show you has to do with the Windows 11 context menu. And I know I complain about this all the time because I truly do hate it, but it does have a new feature that I wanted to show you guys here. So if you go ahead and click on any kind of file, so if you have a file selected and you use the menu button instead of right-clicking the file, so by right-clicking the file, you'll normally get the normal context menu like this. However, if you select it and you click on the keyboard button for menu, it'll open the menu, and as you can see here, it gives you all of the keyboard commands right here that would activate any one selection within the menu. Now, this is really helpful if you're trying to navigate through the system by using the keyboard. And honestly, even though I hate the Windows 11 context menu, this is actually a great addition to it. So another new feature that Windows 11 has that's kind of hard to show you on the computer, and it's easier just to talk about, is a new feature called Windows 32 App Isolation, or Win32 App Isolation. This is essentially a new feature to the existing sandbox in Windows 11, and what this does is it runs Windows 32 apps inside of an app container that has very limited privileges. Now this will help protect your system from zero-day vulnerabilities. A zero-day vulnerability is, if you didn't know, was a security vulnerability that is within the operating system that hasn't yet been patched. So by running Windows 32 apps inside of their own app containers with limited privileges, it limits the amount of destruction that an app can cause due to an unpatched vulnerability. However, I have a suspicion that this feature could possibly cause compatibility issues with older software that, hasn't been updated for Windows 11. And I haven't found a way to be able to turn off this feature if that becomes the case. There very well may be a way to disable this feature, and if you know about it, then let me know in the comments below. But for my research doing this video, I could only find descriptions on what this feature entails and couldn't find a way to disable it if the need ever arises. Also new to Windows 11 is Bluetooth LE support. The LE stands for low energy, and this is a new Bluetooth standard that helps you save battery power on not only your computer, but also your Bluetooth device. In order to take advantage of this feature, you obviously need Bluetooth on your system, which I don't in this case, and your device itself has to support Bluetooth LE. Now, with that said, let's jump back on the computer and I'll show you some more. Okay, so the next one I want to show you, I'm only showing you because it's the biggest change to Windows 11 with the Movement 3 update, but it's in a feature that I actually really don't use, but that's in the widget bar right here. So if you go ahead and click on the widget bar, as you can see right here, the widget bar is essentially segregated now. You have all of your widgets on one side and all of your regular feeds on the other side. And like I said, I don't ever use the widget bar in Windows 11. So in regards to this update, I wouldn't have even noticed it. In fact, I wasn't even aware that you could use the widget bar without a Microsoft account. I'm not sure when that change took effect, but apparently you can now. However, I have a few issues with the widget board that cause me to disable it in Windows 11 most of the time. The first issue is that everything opens in Edge. Like I mentioned before, it doesn't matter what your default browser is. If this was my only issue, it would be enough to cause me to not use it. And here's the thing, there's no reason why these links have to open in Edge. This is just a way for Windows to not respect your default browser preferences. I mean, keep in mind, they've actually written these features into Windows to explicitly ignore your default browser by using a different type of URL that Windows will only send to Edge. Microsoft could have easily allowed these links to open in your default browser, but they did more work to make sure that they wouldn't. Now, there are ways to force the widget board to open things in your default browser, and I've covered that in a previous video. However, we shouldn't have to force Windows to operate the way that it should be operating by default. And you know what? With that said, my other issue with the widget board is the fact that I don't think operating systems should have a monopoly on content in the first place. In fact, I don't think operating systems should be in the content business at all. In this case, the widget board gets all of its recommendations from MSN, and there's no way to change that to another provider. By allowing a single entity complete control of that content, it's going to be limited by that entity's biases. I mean, call me a conspiracy theorist if you want, but I don't trust any one entity in charge of serving me content. There's just way too much of a chance for an entity could be pushing preferred narratives and limiting other narratives by not having the ability to choose recommendations from multiple sources. You're essentially stuck with whatever narrative MSN in this case wants to propagate. So I think the best way to avoid this would be that operating systems should fill the gap between the user and the hardware, and content should not be part of the operating system. This goes for features like the widget board as well as the newsfeed widget in Windows 10. This stuff just does not belong in an operating system. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that this stuff shouldn't exist at all, but it should be an add-on program or at minimum configurable to different content sources that a person chooses themselves if they want based on their own interests. And other publishers could then go and create other feeds of news articles that you can choose from. I mean, the widget board could make a pretty cool RSS reader. This could be an entire industry. Maybe every 4 years, you don't want news about politics all the time, and all you want to see is articles related to fly fishing. Well, you could find a feed created by someone who dedicates all of their time to fly fishing. But anyway, I'll stop my rant now. I just think that the widget board could be a useful tool if it wasn't for the fact that it's nothing more than the MSN webpage integrated into Windows. Now, the next feature that I want to talk about is unfortunately another one that I can't show you on my system. This one is called Content Adaptive Brightness Control. Unfortunately, this feature only works on systems that have monitors that give you the ability to automatically dim the display. So essentially, this only works on monitors that have an ambient light sensor. But what this does is if you're currently displaying your screen in a dark web page or a dark screen, and then you click on a link and open an app that's bright, it will adjust the brightness of your monitor to make it more of a smooth transition. Now, I think this is a really cool feature, and I wish it was something that I can show you on my system here, but unfortunately I can't. Hopefully in the future, more displays will come with ambient light sensors, and we'll be able to take advantage of features just like this. But let's jump back on the computer and I'll show you another feature that's new in Windows 11. Okay, so the next feature I want to show you guys is actually a pretty neat one right here, but I've noticed that it doesn't really work that great, but let me show you here. Okay, so essentially what you have right now is, let's say I have a whole bunch of applications open, and I went ahead and opened up a bunch of tabs in Edge just to show this off right here. So we have all these apps open right here, so if I hit Alt-Tab, as you can see, I have tons of different things available to me, including, as you can see, a bunch of different tabs from Edge, as well as the applications themselves that I have open. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and minimize that. We're gonna go into settings. I'm gonna show you how this feature can kind of be tweaked a little bit. So what we're gonna do is go into settings, then go into system, then go into multitasking. And then from multitasking, as you can see right now where it shows show tabs from apps or snapping or pressing Alt-Tab. So right now it says show the 20 most recent tabs. Well, we can change that and say we only want it to show 3 most recent tabs. So now if I hit Alt-Tab, as you can see, it's a lot smaller than it was before. At least there's a lot less things available. But as you notice, what it essentially is doing is it's taking the different tabs from applications and showing them as individual applications from within the Alt-Tab screen. However, from what I've noticed is like right here, we've got our home, right? Let's go ahead and open up pictures. We're gonna make another tab. We're gonna go into downloads here. We're gonna make another tab and we'll go into documents. So now we got 3 tabs open in our Explorer. Well, if we hit Alt-Tab, yeah, it doesn't show the Explorer tabs. It only shows the application itself. It doesn't show the tabs themselves. However, if you go over to, let's also try this in Notepad, right? Because we know now Notepad has tabs as well. So we'll go hello, and then we're going to go ahead and open another tab and say goodbye. And then we'll open another tab. So what we have now is 3 tabs open inside of our Notepad. And we hit Alt-Tab and still nothing. Still, it only shows tabs in Edge. So, well, maybe it's just for browsers, right? So let's go and open up Chrome. So we have 1 tab in Chrome. Let's open up another tab. We'll go to YouTube here, and then we have YouTube open, and then let's go ahead and go to Yahoo. Why not? We'll give Yahoo some love here. All right, so now what we have is we have 3 different web pages open: Google, YouTube, and Yahoo, right? So now we should be able to hit Alt-Tab and see all 3 of those tabs, right? No, all we can see is Chrome itself, and only Edge has tabs working. Yeah, that doesn't seem to provide very much usefulness, unless you use Edge, of course. Now, as you can see, I was only able to use this feature with Microsoft Edge, but that's literally the only app that this worked in. Maybe other applications just need to support this feature themselves for it to work. However, in Windows 11, both File Explorer and Notepad have tab support, and it doesn't work in either of them either. Literally, the only application that I could get this to work on was Edge. So, unless you use Edge, this is kind of a worthless feature. Now, these are just some of the highlights of some of the new features in Windows 11 that I thought were noteworthy. There are many new features that come with Movement 3 of Windows 11. And this update also includes tons of bug fixes. In fact, I was gonna make an entire section of this video just on the bug fixes alone in this update, but the list was so long and some of the updates were so arbitrary that I thought it would be too boring to include in the video. So if you want a list of all the updates, go ahead and Google it. There's a pretty long list of updates in this update, or bug fixes in this update, yeah. But if there were any new updates in Windows 11 that I left out that you think should have been included, then let me know in the comments below. And like I mentioned earlier in the video when we were talking about the widget board, if you're sick and tired of Microsoft ignoring your default browser and just opening Edge anyway, then check out this video where I show you how to fix that problem with a small, easy to configure open source program that will just redirect links from Edge into your browser of choice. Anyway, as always, you guys have a great day.